All right. Well, welcome back to Rarefied Air. I'm Maxwell,
I'm Andrew.
and we're here to talk about this Marvel Snap tier list. But this isn't a normal Marvel Snap tier list. Andrew, what tier list are we doing?
We are doing a flavor tier list. So instead of looking at how good the cards are in the game, we're looking at how well what the cards do reflect the powers and personalities of the characters they are based upon.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've got a few characters done already. This is part of a series, so if you're just now tuning in, feel free to kick back and relax and watch this video. But if you want to know why the characters that are already on this tier list are where they are, you can check out some of our older videos. Um, yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it with a segment that we like to call Maxwell's Retcon Corner. So we have this temporary tier here of the retcon, because as cards evolve in Marvel Snap, as updates come out, sometimes they just change what cards do, either in like meaningful enough ways that we have to address it, or they completely change what the card does. And that's actually one of the big things we're talking about here with Ghost. This card was completely changed. So as you'll see, since we're kind of using an older image of the card, Ghost used to be a card that made it so that all of your cards used to be a 1/2 back in the day. But a little more recently, it made it so that all of your cards they revealed last. Um, they've now changed it for balance reasons that honestly we don't have to talk about. But now it's a 3 cost 4 power card. On reveal, remove the abilities from all end of turn cards here. So here's the thing. Ghost previously got into our Sublime design, meaning that it was amazing. It was perfect. The ability matched flawlessly with the character. I gotta be honest, like with this new change, like here's the thing. I don't know who would have this ability necessarily. I wouldn't give it to Ghost. I guess doesn't feel like something that Ghost would do. Like she just kind of gets rid of people's powers. I can think of a lot of people who are described in that way. Not Ghost. And maybe if she's a character that wants like vengeance, right? In the MCU, that's definitely the case. But I don't know about just like taking away people's abilities. What do you think, Andrew?
It's another one of our mini tech card. I feel like I've noticed tech cards tend to fall into this category a lot, where it's an effect that's needed, but it's hard to think of who should be the person with that effect. So they have to make it someone. And in this case, in kind of the similar way, and actually kind of the opposite way of what the Rhino last episode, where they're like, well, no one plays this bad card, so maybe they'll play this bad card. Ghost, they went, well, we need a card that does this, and we don't want to make a new card because it's not in our schedule. So they looked at all the cards they have and went, well, no one plays Ghost because she does an effect that's not useful, like, at all. So what if she did that now? I don't know if that's why they did this. I don't know for sure. But I'm pretty certain that's why they did this.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, game design has demands. We don't care about that here in our tier list. We care about how well the card matches with the lore, and this doesn't really do that.
Yeah.
So I mean, sounds like an F to me.
This sounds like an F to me as well.
Yeah, pretty big fall from grace for
Unfortunately.
Ghost.
Yeah, thankfully, I
Yeah,
only remember this after last episode, so we didn't have to end last episode with 2 people falling all the way from Sublime to F.
yeah.
We can space out our soul crushing disappointment.
Well, I don't know if the soul crushing disappointment is necessary for there to be hope, but we can always have hope despite the soul crushing disappointment. And speaking of hope, I'm excited to learn more about a card. In our other segment that we do at the beginning of episodes, Andrew's Research Corner, where Andrew goes and researches characters that we don't actually know that much about, in order to report back to the community, to the class, to our 2-man dynamic duo, what they are, like who they are, and then we can talk a little bit about their effects in game, to see if it matches what Andrew researched. So, without further ado, Andrew, tell us about this character here in the Who Is This tier.
Okay, so the only person we have in Who Is This tier is Copycat, who is a 3/5 that, when drawn, copies the text of the bottom card in your opponent's library. I did some digging. She's a mutant, and Max is correct. She is part of the Deadpool canon. Her ability is kind of like Mystique's and kind of like Rogue's. She can shapeshift into people, but she copies them so perfectly well that, like, she copies their genealogy, she can copy their power, she even copies their, like, psi patterns, so she starts, like, mimicking their way they think. So that lines up. She does copy people's abilities. Interesting thing about her is that her abilities also happen, the reason why I compared her to Rogue, is her abilities happen through being around people and also trigger, they can trigger, like, also, in addition to being something she does in addition to being something she does, like, on purpose, they also happen subconsciously while she's around people. She starts, like, just, like, sponge copying them. So, it's not a perfect one-to-one. She would actually be very, very similar to, Rogue. She'd be another pretty person to have the ability Rogue has in a lot of ways. But, I would think as, like, their, 7th copying character they made or whatever, pretty decent based on what she actually does.
Yeah, I think the idea of her subconsciously copying people is cool, given that Copycat is kind of random, and how her ability works in game, right? Where you don't get to choose what she copies, or even like put her a location and copy maybe someone there. It's just like she just copies someone in your opponent's deck. I think that's pretty cool. I agree with you that, like, there are a lot of copying characters that exist. I think it's hard to, like, find the perfect, like, copying thing to fit a character perfectly. Yeah, I mean, I guess with all that in mind, what are you thinking as the resident mini expert on Copycat, where she might end up?
As I have put her here, I don't think she can end up lower than our other copying characters we have already ranked of Mystique, Taskmaster, and Absorbing Man. Honestly, I think I might actually put her higher because what she does makes more sense than them, and it actually lines up better with, like, what she does.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right? Like, I think when you look at, like, Mystique, the like sort of ongoing effect thing is a little wonky. Whereas, like, Copycat, because she can copy anything, which is, like, honestly a bit more like Mystique, I feel like that it's more like holistic. Like, Mystique has kind of like a weird like specificity to her copying that doesn't. I mean, you could say that Mystique has some specificity to how she copies people, right? But it's like I would not choose ongoing as the specificity for Mystique. Whereas for Copycat, like, her thing, I guess the specificity of her copying being that it's kind of random. I do like that. And they and you mentioned this last episode, but they changed her from being a steal the ability to a copy the ability card. And I feel like that works a lot better than, say, like, Rogue, who, like, the stealing, like, kind of makes sense, but, like, she doesn't actually steal their abilities, and neither does Copycat. The Copycat doesn't have that, like, sort of, troubling little thing. So, me personally, I feel like Copycat's an A. It doesn't blow me away, but I like it. I think it's pretty good.
And I would be inclined to agree. And with that, we can now move on to a new card, which is, Sarah.
Okay. So, Sarah is a 5 cost, 5 power card. Ongoing, cards in your hand cost 1 less. So I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about Sarah. How about you? Like, as a character.
I know she is an Asgardian. Yeah, that's about it.
All right. I mean, I think we could probably research this one and come back to it. Like I'm not. I'll say this, right? Maybe this is the Maxwell's prediction corner. We got like 3 corners now.
We gotta keep track of how many
I
corners we have.
yeah,
We at
yeah.
least have a regular we have an actual polygon now.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the Asgardians are not great. They don't have a great track record, besides, like Thor. So I would not be surprised if I was disappointed when I find out what Sarah's
I mean,
particular abilities are. But
I will say you should have a little hope because Copycat was the first Research Corner person to not end up in F.
yeah, I guess that's true. I guess that's true. Boldly going where no Marvel Snap tier list character has gone before.
She ended up on almost the other side, so that's pretty good. Oh, okay. Shadow.
Right.
Oh, I do not remember Shadow King being a 4-3. Dang, that's a while ago.
Yeah, Shadow King has gone through some changes.
Yeah, so Shadow King currently is a 2/2. He's 2 power.
Yeah,
yeah,
yep.
2/2 with on reveals. Set cards here to their base power. Now that's important because he used to be affected by Luke Cage because he wouldn't set. He would
Reduce their power.
He'd apply a malice or buff equal to whatever their buff or malice was. He'd counteract whatever was making them not their base power. Now he just sets them to be the base power, which makes it different.
Right.
So I'm actually curious, how much do you know about Shadow King?
Nothing. I don't know who this guy is.
That's about what I expected. So Shadow King it sounds kind of like a joke, but like literally I expected you to say nothing. So Shadow King is like a demonic presence. This is it's like the shadowy thing behind the guy. That's what the Shadow King is. The other guy is a different guy. I forget his name. It's like his most famous, like not famous, like his most widely used vessel.
Okay, interesting. So that guy is not Shadow King. The beast is the Shadow King.
Yeah. So Shadow King, I forget. The thing is, I don't remember his exact power set, but I can tell you that I don't think that this greatly represents Shadow King's powers. Because Shadow King, I mean, he's a telepath.
Okay.
As all great Marvel characters are. But like his main thing is he does mind control, fights people in the astral plane, stuff like that. Obviously, again, possession, because he's possessing this guy we're seeing now. Now you may hear all those powers and go, none of those sound like setting someone's power to their base power. Yes. Correct.
Yeah, I was gonna say that actually.
So, I don't really know why he does that.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess controlling people, like, maybe, but I don't even know if that's like a tenuous explanation. Like, that's a pretty bad one. I mean, yeah, I don't know. That might have to be an F for me.
I would also agree with F for Shadow King. Again, an effect they do the game should probably have, but I'm not sure if this is the correct person to use it for.
Yeah.
Oh, well, here's one I don't know if you know anything about this guy, because I'll be honest, I don't. Shang-Chi. I know he has 10 rings. That's it. That's all I know about him.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest. Like, I don't know. I don't know like what the specific legend is with the 10 rings. I didn't watch the movie. It was kind of in that space of Marvel movies where like people kind of just like, including myself, kind of stepped away from the Marvel movies for a second.
Yeah, the only one I saw
so,
from that era was Eternals, and Shang-Chi was not an Eternals. Although Blade was.
Interesting.
Sorry, not Blade, that's wrong. No, Blade was also. Black Knight was. He's actually Black Knight was the love interest of Circe, the main character of Eternals. And then at the end, they show the Ebon Blade, and then Blade talks to Black Knight from off screen. That is the end credits scene. Neither of those characters are shown up in the movies yet, as far as I know. So I don't really know how far ahead they were teasing, but
Yeah.
it's like when
I
they
mean, they
tease,
have
it's like
like
when
the
they
Blade movie like that they've been teasing for a while now, right?
it's like when they showed Mardu at the end of Doctor Strange,
right.
like being evil, and then they
Baron
just
Mordo.
yeah, they just never they just didn't follow up on that for like 5 years.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's the post-credit scenes. Who's to say what happens? I mean, we all remember when Thanos showed up, and then he looked very different.
Yeah, Thanos with his 2 redesigns before he actually showed up in a movie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as the main villain, because he also showed up in Guardians 1, also looking
Right.
different.
Right. Yeah. I would say let's give Shang-Chi a chance and put him in Who Is This? I'd like to know more.
For the record, although we will go over this again, because I always go over record energy weapon corner, Shang-Chi is a 4/3 with on reveal, destroy all enemy cards here with 10 or more power. But we will see if they got 10, so he does have 10 rings.
10. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay, so now we have Shanna the She-Devil.
Okay, so Shadow She-Devil, 3 cost, 4 power on reveal at a random 1 cost card to each location. Yeah, I mean,
Oh, hey, we can.
how did we not grab this before? Yeah,
because Kazar is old enough and early enough in the things that when we did Kazar, we were not grabbing people. So let me grab Zabu.
yeah, let's grab the Zabu. Yeah. Okay, so Shadow the She-Devil, the reason why Zabu and Kazar are relevant is that they're all from the Savage Land, or tied to it in some way, right? They're so Shanna, she summons 1 cost. Kazar buffs 1 cost. Zabu is a 1 cost now, right? He's 1 cost, 2 power, and works with Kazar. Or sorry, he's 1 cost, 1 power. They gave him a little nerf. But he's on reveal is give each 4 cost card in your deck -1 cost. Guess what? Kazar, 4 cost card.
Shanna also before cost, but she was really bad, so they put her to 3.
Yeah.
And she's still honestly not very good, but unless you're playing the 1 cost deck, that's really the only place you can play her at all.
Yeah, I mean,
Which
I
was
think
not
it's
surprising.
fine.
You only play Kazar in 1 cost as also.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like Shanna going where Kazar is makes sense, which is D. I like the synergy. However, just because the Savage Land makes 1 cost Raptors, and just because they all work together, doesn't mean the ability makes any sense. It's actually really good theming, right? That like all 3 of his characters work together. Was not always, perfectly the case. But they're kind of all on the same page now. And I think they work pretty well. So yeah, I'd say D is pretty fair. Probably for Zabu as well. Again, because like I have no idea why Zabu would make 4 cost cards just generally cheaper. I don't know why he would make cards cheaper. Period. It's not like Zabu shows up and then Kazar can like teleport to him or something. It's just like he's just like his friend, So it makes sense they'd work together. But like, I mean, like Speed and Wiccan. Last episode we were talking about that. They work together really well. It's really cool. Elevates them out of F tier, but like we can't let them climb any further than that, right? There's got to be standards.
Yeah, they have a lot of synergy together, and they synergize both the Savage Land's land, but the synergy they chose to Savage Land is weird. Also, just explanation for those of you who are like, what's the Savage Land? The DC universe in Antarctica, there's just a prehistoric jungle.
Yeah,
it's called the Savage Land.
That like Ice Age movie, where they fall into like the place. There's just like dinosaurs down there. It's kind of like that, honestly.
Yeah,
it's very similar.
Yeah, in the Marvel Universe, the ice wall theory is just correct because there's just a jungle on in Antarctica. Also, if you live in Antarctica, like if you live in Romania, and you're like, can't wait to see what's going on with Antarctica in Marvel Comics, your house is probably not going to be there because it's going to be in a jungle.
Yeah, can't wait to see my favorite glaciers.
Okay, then we can move on to this one's weird. She-Hulk. So, She-Hulk is a 6'10", and she cost 1 less per unspent energy last turn. Why?
Yeah, I mean, here's the weird thing about it, right? So like chronologically speaking, this wasn't designed to work with Hulk, like the high evolutionary, enhanced version of the Hulk. But I think that actually, weirdly, in reverse, which is kind of like the opposite of the characters, Hulk from High Evolutionary was designed to work similarly to She-Hulk, where they both are, because She-Hulk, right, character given the blood of Bruce Banner to save her life, now she kind of has Hulk powers. And similar to the Hulk, Bruce Banner, right, she can change into the Hulk, but it's not really the same. Like instead of like getting really mad and like turning into a big guy who like is kind of he has his own like sort of compartmented personality, like a multiple personality disorder kind of thing. Like she's just the same person. But she
Yeah.
gets like bigger, stronger, right?
More self-confident. She's in a lot of ways very similar to the way Abomination works now, because current Abomination can transform at will. He's not stuck as Abomination. And again, that's important because
Yeah.
Abomination kept his mind pretty much entirely when he transformed. He's still Zemil, or Emil. I think his last name starts with Z. I don't know why I put the Z in his first name. But he's just a big guy now. So She-Hulk is still Jennifer. She's just the big guy question. Guess that doesn't really work, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I like she doesn't absorb energy. It's like not a power that she really has. I mean, I guess
Well, I
similar to the
mean,
Hulk,
she
right?
can.
She can absorb gamma energy, but like it's not like if I were to say like, oh, what's She-Hulk's signature ability? You know what?
Yeah.
Grab Bruce Banner from Marvel Rivals. Go ahead and grab him. Yeah, he's right there. The middle, like top left.
I forgot that when they added all the new stuff, they alphabetized it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Now Bruce Banner, right? This is the Marvel Rivals version, which we're not even going to talk about how I feel about that. But he's a 2-cost, 1 power. End of turn. If you have unspent energy, 33% chance to all caps Hulk out. It turns into the Hulk, and he turns into, I guess, kind of a modified version of the regular Hulk. So 6 cost, 12 power, no abilities. Doesn't get improved by high Evo. Doesn't technically count as the Hulk in the same way. But he becomes kind of like the basic Hulk, right? And the whole idea is like, it really honestly captures like the essence of the Hulk, right? And if you view like absorbing energy as like the gamma radiation going into their bodies, right? Which, it's kind of like vampires and discard, but like it makes a little more sense because it's energy. Gamma radiation is energy,
all gamma
right?
mutates have the ability to absorb gamma radiation, but as Max said, if you were like, hey, what's like if you listed any gamma mutate and said what's their power, no one's gonna say gamma radiation absorption. They all have that power because it's just part of being a gamma mutate, which, if you don't know, gamma mutate is the technical term for people like She-Hulk, Hulk, Abomination, even Leader. Characters who are mutated via gamma radiation are called gamma mutates because they are mutates via gamma radiation. Not the Greek letter.
And that's fine. I mean, I'm not mad about it, and it's accurate, right? That sounds to me kind of like a C ability, like absorbing the energy, because they can do it. It's not really like them though, right? So I feel like She-Hulk goes there. However, Bruce Banner from Marvel Rivals, yes, he's still dependent on the absorbing gamma radiation thing. Like, I don't love that as a primary thing, but that's not his primary thing. It's a secondary thing. His primary thing is that he turns into the Hulk. That's what Bruce Banner does. It's perfect.
And absorbing gamma radiation is one of, because so everyone knows that Hulk comes out when Bruce Banner's angry. It's like the classic way Hulk comes out. Now, it used to be whenever night came around. back when he was Grey Hulk. That because he was like a Jekyll and Hyde werewolf story. So at night he would turn into the Hulk. That's how it used to work. But now it's when he's angry. There are multiple other ways to turn him into the Hulk. Very common way, which became very, very, very popular when he was the Immortal Hulk. Which I wonder if they were going to add the Immortal Hulk. That'd be interesting. Was dying or dying when he was the Immortal Hulk. Dying would bring him back to life because random aside, there's this character called the One Below All who's like this really powerful evil entity that exists in this place below reality, and when Gamma mutates die, he gave them the ability to enter this thing called the Green Door, which is in the place where they die. They go to there and they can go through the Green Door and then they come back to life. So all Gamma mutates have the ability to resurrect themselves. During that time, Bruce Banner could turn into the Immortal Hulk, which he could only do by dying. So he would die and then enter the Green Door and then come back as the Immortal Hulk. But at all times, being put in life-threatening situations causes the Hulk to like come out. There was a time period like there's been times where like they need the Hulk, so they throw Bruce Banner at some guy from out of a helicopter. He turns into the Hulk before he hits the ground. Bruce Banner, someone tried to snipe Bruce Banner once, and he turned into the Hulk because comic book logic, Hulk somehow knew that a bullet was flying at Bruce Banner at several hundred miles an hour and turned to the Hulk to stop it from killing him. Don't know how that worked out, but sure, I guess. And one of the other ways is when Bruce Banner observes excess gamma radiation, he does just turn into the Hulk. So,
yeah, and I think it's perfect. I would say that's a sublime design. It like perfectly captures the character.
Bruce Banner's hitting a perfect batting average so far. See if they add any more versions of him, if that holds true.
Yeah, and we see that the Hulk is up there as well, which is kind of interesting. I mean, I would say something that does make She-Hulk and Hulk a little different is that like She-Hulk. Well, okay. Here's my question. Why do you think that regular Hulk is up here in Sublime Design? Because that actually kind of confuses me a little. Because like radiation charges up, right? But I'm looking at Bruce Banner and I'm looking at base Hulk. And I'm like, why? You know, like I don't think base Hulk is as good as Bruce Banner. You know,
you're running into a problem because in a vacuum, Hulk is a perfect adaptation of just the Hulk. But the thing I think you're arguing here, which is a question we have to breach now, is which is going to be very important, very very quickly, because of the First Steps Fantastic Four cards when we get to those. Does a card of the same character existing and being a good or as good or better adaptation, even if they adapt different things, does that push the other card out of Sublime? Because I would say if Bruce Banner didn't exist, which I honestly I don't think he did when we made this when we started this tier list. I don't think this card existed yet. So in that vacuum, the Hulk is a really, really perfect adaptation of Hulk. So the question we have to answer now is, does Bruce Banner existing push the Hulk out of Sublime?
I mean, that's a great question. I don't love the idea of the same. This is kind of what I was talking about with like the Marvel Rivals characters, right? And the Fantastic Four characters are kind of the same thing, where it's like it's weird having like just like, oh, this is the version of this character from like this media. It's a little odd. Kind of feels like maybe a little lazy. You know, I don't want to cast aspersions, but I'm kind of like, bruh, like, when's Dum Dum Dugan gonna get added? Okay, you know, are we gonna release Reed Richards for the 5th time, or are we gonna add in the characters that people really want to see? You know,
and I personally have been desensitized because I play, as I've said before, Marvel Puzzle Quest, and I'm like, what do you mean there's not 7 versions of the Hulk in this game?
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm used to.
I'll say this. I think it's worth putting aside my personal distaste for the same character showing up in the game twice. But I think that, it makes sense that you can create a facsimile of the same character in more than one way, in a way that is sublime. I think we agree that Bruce Banner from Marvel Rivals is better than Hulk. But I think that like I think that Hulk earned a place in Sublime Design. And I think they could. Sublime Design is big enough for the both of them.
Yeah, cue screaming cowboy in the sky. With that, we can move on to our next card, which is great, Shocker. Shocker, it's bad. So Shocker is a 2/3, nothing. But with High Evolutionary, he reduces the leftmost card in your hand's cost by 1. So if you don't know about the Shocker, which if you played wildly popular game Spider-Man on PS4, you do know the Shocker because he is in that game. I think it's the only time he's really gotten into anything mainstream. He has sonic cannons on his arms, and he can shoot shockwaves with them. Now you may say, how does he use those to reduce the cost by 1? That's an amazing question that I do not have an answer for.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, listen, if you're in the audience, whenever Andrew asks a hypothetical question, there's a good chance that these people are not going to score well. Yeah, I mean, look, Shocker's animation doesn't make sense. He blasts the card with the sonic waves, and their cost goes down. Explain that. Like if Shocker was like Baron Mordo, right? He blasts a card in your opponent's hand or deck with the sonic waves, and they're like, whoa,
Shocker was
and
just
then they cost
Iceman.
more. Yeah, that would make sense. But he's not. He's like opposite Iceman. Like he's like Bizarro Iceman. Yeah, I think it's bad. Like F with malice. Like
yeah. They had a card on the craziest thing about this, which is actually the funniest thing about Shocker, is he's the only character who is, I would say, actively hurt by his High Evolutionary upgrade. Because without it,
crazy.
I'd be like, I don't know, like D, because like he's just a guy. It really doesn't have an ability, but his ability is not like at odds with his thing. But they added an ability that is just at odds with what he does.
Right. Yeah. Very strange choice to make Shocker. Honestly, strange choice to make him one of the base cards. That like doesn't have an ability. Because there's a few cards like that I'm just like, why is that? Like
Cyclops. Why is Cyclops?
Yeah, like Cyclops or
With
Wasp. Like these are characters with like really distinctive abilities. And Shocker has a very distinctive ability. Is it easy to do yet another energy projection character? Absolutely not. Right? But like we could do better than this.
I hope, but if we can't, then I got a lot more faith to lose, apparently.
Look at everything C and above. All right, like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we can do better.
Like there are a lot of examples.
We even have people
of
like Sonic, like Black Bolt is even better. Black Bolt's pretty much what the Shocker, basically what Shocker is.
Yeah. So
okay, so we can move on to our next card. Shuri.
So Shuri is the sister.
Didn't grab when we did the Black Panther characters. That's an oversight.
Yeah,
we definitely dismissed her.
Shuri is T'Challa's sister. T'Challa being the Black Panther, but pretty much everyone knows. She's 4 cost, 3 power. On reveal, if you play her next card at this location, double its power. So Shuri's whole thing is that she's really smart. At least in the MCU, and this is definitely like
this is
based on MCU.
This is MCU / modern. So one thing I want to say, because this is an interesting thing. So we talk a lot about comics versus MCU stuff, and while there are still some differences between them, for the most part, modern comics modern Marvel has entirely changed itself to be very reminiscent of the MCU. So they've redesigned a lot of characters to make them look more and act more like the MCU versions versus what they were previously. And that's interesting. So it's like, for instance, Yondu in the comics looks like movie Yondu now, even though, as anyone who's seen old Yondu knows, doesn't look anything like Yondu used to look like. Also, he exists in the present day now, which is weird because, I guess he's like, maybe he's like the great, 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 great grandfather of the original. They need more grades because it's like 200 years later. But, actually, it's more like this couple centuries. But whatever. Maybe he's like an ancestor of the original Yondu that we had in the comics because, that comic takes place like 10,000 years later or something. But anyway, this is very clearly based on MCU, Shuri.
Yeah. And it's I guess like pre Black Panther 2 Shuri, right? Yeah, I mean, like the other Wakanda cards, right? Centered around mechanically making Black Panther more powerful. Which is true. That's very accurate to the movie, right? That Shuri plays a supporting role to T'Challa. In using her, amazing technology to help T'Challa out. Now, Shuri also has these like cool gauntlets, kind of funny actually, that we were just talking about Shocker, but Shuri has like a really similar thing.
Yeah. Everyone's favorite generic sound cannon that a weirdly large number of Marvel characters have.
Yeah. I mean, so she has this like a specific kind of like condition that you have to meet to get the effect. And I feel like that condition is reasonable, right? You could kind of like say like, oh, Shuri is like, hey, I'm gonna help someone out with my cool technology, and they have to like come to where I'm at so I can like give them the technology, right? Okay, sure. And it works really well with Black Panther. Actually, really well, because she costs 4, Black Panther costs 5. So you play Shuri, Black Panther the next turn. Shuri doubles the power, Black Panther doubles the power. You get the classic,
double
effect that we love / hate in Marvel Snap.
And other card games, Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. It's pretty good. I would say that this is interesting. I hadn't really thought about this until literally now. But Shuri is very reminiscent of Iron Man. And the Iron Man is also a power doubler. And it's also like a gearhead, right? I don't really know what to make of that because that doesn't really sound like that doesn't really sound like what being like a super smart tech person should be, but there is synergy there. And certainly the Black Panther synergy is pretty cool too.
I would actually say, because here's actually no finish your thought. I want to see what you think.
Well, I guess that's really like all of the specific bits of evidence I have to lay down here. I think as far as like a little bit of analysis on top of that, this doesn't feel unique to Shuri. It works with Black Panther. Obviously, they tend not to make cards that are that specifically reference other cards, because they want them to be sort of more broadly playable, which is totally fine, and understandable. And it's not like Shuri can only use her technology with, T'Challa, right? But I don't know. It feels a little bland. It doesn't feel like super flavorful to me. What are you thinking?
So I have an interesting counterpoint, interesting opposing viewpoint to you actually in this situation, where I actually, because the thing with Shuri, the thing we're going to end up with here is how much can synergy with other cards, how high can synergy with other cards and locations and stuff in this game bring a somewhat generic design? Because I do agree, doubling the power of the next card played here is not super specifically Shuri in a vacuum, but I would argue it's incredibly specifically Shuri in the context of this game. Shuri, as you know, if you've watched the Black Panther movie, first one, she's the one who made the modern Black Panther suit. So before Black Panther suit had a little bit of gadgets and claws, but she's like, hey, what if we just made a super high-tech suit? So she's the reason why the Black Panther suit could do most of the stuff it does now. So Black Panther, the card, doubles power. Shuri also doubles power. So my thought there is Shuri, what she's doing is you're playing in a location, and then she builds a Black Panther suit or whatever suit for the next card you play there. That's why it does the same thing as Black Panther, but for another card. Another card that adds really interesting context to this that also adds synergy is the location Shuri's Lab, which does the exact same thing Shuri does, but for any card played there.
Okay. I like that. I like that. I like the idea that it's like Shuri is making a Black Panther suit. And it's nice because it's like they could make it a little more specific, but I think this subtly does. It subtly carries out that narrative, or at least the effects of it. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Although my question is, again, the gameplay lore disconnect. Why is Shuri always building Black Panther suits for like Red Skull and Nimrod?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, I mean, overall, I think that bodes pretty well for Shuri. Because I think, I mean, like, look, there are limitations to like what Shuri could be in a game like this. Just because it's like making cool tech, being Black Panther's sister, I guess becoming Black Panther later herself. Well, they don't really touch on that in this game, except for like a variant or two. That's pretty cool stuff. But it doesn't super translate into card abilities. I think this is pretty good with what they had.
Yeah. I will say the main thing that drags us down, which is why I personally think she does not get above B, very similar to US Agent, which is she synergizes super well with Black Panther. The problem is Black Panther only got to B because his ability can make sense, but it's not a great adaptation of Black Panther. Therefore, I think Shuri can't really get past B either, because while she's super synergistic with Black Panther, we still kind of end up with the question of, yeah, but why exactly does Black Panther do that?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It's sort of like they started out with a cool idea for what Black Panther could do and created a bunch of stuff from that, but they probably should have said, wait, but why is Black Panther the doubling guy? Why is that Black Panther's thing? So that makes sense. I think B is a very fair place for Shuri to end up.
Cool. And then with that, we can move to our next card, which is, Silver Surfer. So, Silver Surfer is a 3-cost, 2-power, on reveal, give your other 3-cost cards plus 2 power. Now, I am in long running and known to be, I have not played it in like a season, really, for being a real big fan of the Surfer deck. Really like playing Surfer decks. The 3-cost decks. And in my many matches of playing Surfer decks, I have come to one conclusion. This has nothing to do with Silver Surfer at all.
Yeah. Agreed. I don't get it. Let's grab the new Surfer while we're at it. Or I guess maybe you would have to add in a new Surfer.
No,
think about it.
They do have the first. No, they don't have the first. They have First Step season. They don't have First Step Silver Surfer because she's from the next set. So she will now appear through editing magic. That's not what I wanted. Stop lagging, Snap Zone. I'm trying to download this card image.
Ojalá que es míos, nunca se muden. Man. All right, and just like that, Silver Surfer First Steps has arrived using the Power Cosmic in our tier list. Yeah, so you might think, hey, well, we got a new Silver Surfer. Hey, also a 3-cost, kind of cool. And what does she do? Well, 3-cost, 4 power. End of turn, if you're winning this location with an on-reveal card, copy its text. Okay, now full disclosure, all right, First Steps came out just a little bit ago, haven't seen it. From the comics perspective, which, maybe can't really be applied to the Silver Surfer, also doesn't really track. So I think we're going to have to put her in Who Is This? But,
I would agree.
But yeah, I mean, Silver Surfer, right? Herald of Galactus. At least that's why he's most widely known, right?
That's why he's silver. That's why he's a surfer. Both parts of his name are only because of that. He used to just be a normal, like, humanoid-looking guy from an alien planet. And Galactus is like, look, I'll make you a deal. you come find plants for me to eat, and I won't eat your planet. And then he went deal, and then Galactus pulled out his giant can of silver chrome spray paint. And
I mean, basically, he gave him the power cosmic, and now he just surfs around all silver like, throughout the universe, looking for planets for Galactus to consume. And yeah, I mean, he's silver, he surf. You have power cosmic, right? Like Silver Surfer is not actually super complicated as far as what his powers do. Silver Surfer is one of those classic characters in Marvel Snap where they said, "Hey, let's create a really cool animation." And kind of hand wave that like their ability has something to do with the animation we just gave them.
yeah,
It'd be like, you know what? I sometimes I think that the way that Marvel Snap works is that they start with the character, they go, what does the character do? And then they said, oh, let's create really cool animation for that. And then they hand it off to the design team and they say, oh, so we got this really cool card. Check out what it does. And they show them the animation and the design team goes like, I don't know. Maybe he gives them like a power buff when he flies around and like gives everyone a nice crisp high five with the power cosmic and they become more powerful. But only three cost people. Only three cost people. Not anybody else.
yeah. Honestly, it's as much as I hate to say it, because again, I love this deck. It is by far my favorite deck. Besides just it's my favorite of the actually like a synergy deck. Because technically my favorite deck is like a pile of good cards, but like it's not like a deck. It's just a pile of like it's not an archetype. It's just a pile of like it's good stuff, which is like the least archetype you can possibly play in a card game. That's why it's really hard to describe Zoo, because it's like, what's Zoo? And you're like, I don't know. You just put a bunch of like good creatures in a pile and then just kill your opponent with them. That's kind of it.
Yeah,
but, like,
for those who aren't aware of the Magic the Gathering terms, good stuff is literally just like Marvel Snap is a game that's generally about synergy, cards that do things together, which is partly why we see so many characters who work together in their stories have abilities that are synergistic. And Silver Surfer is an amazing sort of like keystone for a deck that has a lot of 3-cost cards to really empower those 3-cost cards to reach their full potential, their full power. That's not really what Silver Surfer does.
Well, I mean, Silver Surfer can give people power, but the thing is, the main thing that's killing him here, which again I'm sad about, because I like deck building constraints and it makes it a really interesting deck, but the 3-cost restriction is just kind of a thing they put on there and makes no sense at all.
Yeah. So I mean, here's my question. He can empower people. Do you think that gets him to D?
Yes, because we have people in D who have like for instance, like the Infonaut. He's really, really big, but he has a weird restriction that makes no sense. And it's a weird restriction that's weird, but it's not as bad as like Giganto's also a character with a weird restriction that makes no sense. But like Giganto's makes no sense, and like Giganto, other than that, is just a big monster. So, like, there's nothing pulling Giganto up. It's just this only being playable on the left that's just an anchor around his neck, pulling him into oblivion. Silver Surfer at least has something applying a buoying force to lift him to not fall into the dregs of D. So I would say, the dregs of F. So I would say D.
Okay, I think that's fair.
So D. Not She-Hulk. D for Silver Surfer. That we can move on to our next card. Spectrum.
Okay.
I have literally never thought of this before.
Yeah. So so Spectrum, the hilariously named Spectrum, hilariously named because she's always changing her superhero name.
Yeah, most of the time because the son of Captain Marvel is changed his name to be what her name was, and then for some reason that makes her have to change her name because I don't know. I think it literally might have just been because she's a woman, and the people who wrote Marvel Comics were like, well, her name's less important. But
yeah, so I mean, Spectrum, Monica Rambeau, right? 6 cost, 7 power, On reveal, give your ongoing cards +2 power. So I mean, she's got energy powers. As you can see on her card, she's flying around. She's a bit different in the comics than she is in the movies. Funnily enough, this appears to be the comic version of Monica Rambeau, not the movie version of Monica Rambeau. Hence her name Spectrum. Whereas in the movie, like, I think Ms. Marvel calls her like Professor Marvel or something like that, and she's like, "Nah, I don't think I like that."
Good call. It's a horrible name.
Yeah, I mean, Ms. Marvel's like a child, right, in the movie. So, regardless, like a teen,
Yeah, I
preteen
could
or
have called
something
her
like that.
classic. What the name I learned her as Photon, because that was her first.
Yeah, but regardless, right? This is the comic version. Funnily enough, that actually means I know less about her than Andrew does, because Andrew more knows the comic version. I more know the MCU Monica Rambeau. So what do you think
Well,
this?
there's a very easy shortcut for this.
Okay,
So you know Captain Marvel, right?
I do know Captain Marvel.
She's the exact same person. Like she has literally the exact same power. Like she's literally because you know how Captain Marvel got her powers with an accident that involved Captain Marvel, so she like gained a bunch of his powers. Literally the exact same thing happened, but with Miss Marvel and Spectrum. Like she literally just has the exact same power set.
Okay, fascinating. Yeah, I mean, in the movies, right? Like Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau, they have like a tie to each other.
But
and with
also she can
Marvel-
absorb energy forms.
Yeah.
So she's very sorry. She's not exactly the same as Captain Marvel. She's very similar to Captain Marvel. She can turn to energy and she can manipulate energy and project energy and fly. She doesn't have I guess she probably doesn't have the super strength of Captain Marvel, but she's very similar to Captain Marvel. And she actually is a Captain Marvel supporting character. That's where she comes from.
Yeah. I mean, with all that in mind, classic like energy projection L, like they don't know what to do with these characters sometimes, it feels like. Like I here's the thing. Spectrum reminds me with a mechanical effect a lot of Captain America, right? Or Silver Surfer, but Captain America is probably a better idea of this done well. A better example of this done well. You would expect that with an ability like this, Spectrum would be a leader, and she is. And I like that. It seems implied. I mean, through the animation, obviously, but also like given that like she's a metahuman with like specific abilities, whereas like Captain America is like, yeah, he's like a regular guy, but like much better. Like he's like Hercules, right? Whereas like Spectrum has like this energy manipulation stuff, can turn into pure energy. That's crazy. We're not seeing this on the card.
Yeah.
Feels kind of like a wasted potential to
It's
me.
interesting because you compare her to Captain America. I would compare her to a different card, actually. And that card is Blue Marvel.
Yeah.
Because they are very similar. Blue Marvel is also a character with a lot of powers and is also a leader person, which is why we have him in C, because he just gives people a power boost, which is like, I mean, I guess, sure, but that's not really a great capturing of Captain Marvel's powers. Although, actually, interestingly, they do know each other. Because I think I've told you, there was a team called the Ultimates that Black Panther formed with Captain Marvel, and he was like, let's form a team to like deal with with space threats. And she's like, yeah, I got Monica Rambeau, she'll be great for that team. And then she was like, yeah, I got Blue Marvel, he'd be great for this team. And then Blue Marvel's like, yeah, we should just bring America Chavez because she like can travel through dimensions and she'd be really useful for this team. And then they were like doing stuff in the metaverse, and it was very funny because it was like 3 super powerful energy manipulating flying projection people, America Chavez, and then Black Panther was also there. But so they're very similar because of that. I don't know, the thing with Spectrum that makes Spectrum weird is the fact that she only affects ongoing cards.
Yeah, it's weirdly specific. It's again like that example of like, hey, they wanted a card that had this effect, and I mean, it's kind of similar to Captain America, right? Where it's like, It affects ongoing cards. But you're right. Like they don't necessarily have to do that. They didn't do that with the Blue Marvel, right? Um, so I don't know. I don't love it. I don't hate it.
I think the limiting for me drops it to D.
I think that's more than fair. And I wouldn't even say that Spectrum is like that's her defining characteristic is her leadership either. She is a leader, but like I mean, like most superheroes,
A
are
lot of
leaders.
people are leaders.
Yeah,
And it's like reason why we gave Captain America an edge on that is like Captain America's like the leader of leaders.
yeah,
It's like a lot of people are leaders, but like one of Captain America's main defining traits is being an amazing leader.
yeah,
Like this guy's such a good leader. He got thawed out of ice 70 years later, met the Avengers, and then like immediately became the leader of the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like, this man is so good at being a leader. He just randomly showed up and joined the organization, and then almost immediately became the leader. This would be like if you got hired to work at a McDonald's, and then like a day later you were the manager somehow. Like that's insane.
yeah.
So yeah, I would say D for Spectrum. Okay, with that we can move on to. Okay, here's the question: Do we want to just what time are we at? Do we want to just end this video on the Spider Person Bonanza?
Yeah. All right. Let's do it. Grab them all.
Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, Spider-Man 2099. I didn't actually put him in the thing, so we didn't actually go. Spider-Man 2099. There's a lot of as you have gathered from me grabbing all of them. Oh Christ, it adjusted things. I don't know where she went. As you can tell by me grabbing all these people, they put a lot of Spider-Man characters, and I'm only doing Spider. Yeah, whatever. You're Spider-Man enough. You can get in. I'm only grabbing. No, actually, no. Let's leave you guys out. You can do. Oh, I can't. Okay, there we go. We'll do you next episode when we do Venom, and we'll do the symbiotes. So you can wait for now. But there are a lot of Spider-Man characters in this game, which, you know, if you think about it, makes sense. Spider-Man is probably the most popular superhero in the world. I don't think it's a contentious thing to say. I think pretty sure that's just correct. Do you have any thoughts on that being incorrect?
I mean, I think like I would personally say that there's a good argument to be made about Batman and Superman. But yeah, I mean, Spider-Man is like if it isn't Batman or Superman, it's Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, and he's definitely, at least before the MCU, and probably actually even after the MCU now, he was and probably is the most notable Spider-Man character. Not Spider-Man character. I mean, he's the most notable Spider-Man character. That's just always correct. But he is probably the most notable Marvel character, like the most well-known of all Marvel characters.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair.
Because like the big Marvel DC has the big three, which is Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. But the big three of just comics generally is probably, as Max said, Batman, Spider-Man, and Superman are the three like big American comics characters. Okay, so we have our characters. So we can start with the template, who makes most of these make more sense. Spider-Man. So Spider-Man is a 3-cost, 4-power. That's correct.
It's 2 costs now.
Ah,
Got
2
changed.
cost. He's still 4.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 cost, 4 power. On reveal, move this and an enemy card to a random location.
Yeah. So look, he's the web slinger, right? That's his whole thing. So he uses it. You can see this in the animation, but it just makes sense intuitively. He moves to a location. He slings one of his webs at the enemy. He grabs him. He pulls him there too. Spider-Man is well known for his agility, his mobility, swinging through New York City. I like it. I think that like Spider-Man is an interesting character, specifically because he's like a big deal, right? So there's all kinds of stuff that people, like just regular people, know about Spider-Man, right? A lot of expectations, I think, for a card like this to be like crazy, right? Like I mean, it probably wouldn't be successful, but I could see them trying to make like a Marvel Snap game that's just like Spider-Man Snap, like, that's why there's so many Spider-Man characters,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, honestly, if you wanted to build a card game around one specific like category of a comic book, your best options are either going to be Spider-Man or Batman.
Yeah, and I mean, look, like that just means there are really high expectations. I feel like for this card, right? We're not going to be like, yeah, this is a guy. He does one thing, so like his thing is represented on the card, or it isn't. Spider-Man has a lot of stuff you could do. I think that if we're going to talk about what's the most iconic thing that Spider-Man does, I gotta say, even though it's not actually one of his powers, which is very funny, at least in the original comics,
most of the time,
it's probably his most iconic thing is the webs.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first view people ever got of this character.
Yeah,
because the cover of Amazing Fantasy 15, which was Amazing Adult Fantasy, but got changed to they dropped adult for the last issue. It was going to be the last year because they were going to cancel it. Because Stan Lee was like, I have this great idea. What if we made a teenager the superhero and then he was spider-based? And his boss was like, that's a stupid idea. No one wants to read about a teenager and people hate spiders. That boss was very, very wrong. Like, demonstrably wrong. But they put him in Amazing Fantasy because they were going to cancel the book anyway. Because they're like, yeah, might as well put him on there because we're going to cancel this book. And then he became one of the most popular comic characters of all time. But the cover is him swinging through New York carrying a guy. That is the cover of the first issue Spider-Man ever appeared in.
Yeah, and so I would say he does it. I think like there's definitely more they could do, but within the constraints of Marvel Snap, you don't want to give characters an ability that's like a paragraph long. I like it. I think it's really good.
Yeah, I think if you were going to, in this game where cards tend to be very simple, make a simple Spider-Man card, this should be the card you make.
Yeah. So I think Sublime for basic, Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
I would agree. And with that, we can move on to Spider-Woman.
So Spider-Woman, she is a 5 cost, and at this time, Spider-Woman is 8 power. On availability, afflict all enemy cards here with -1 power. So, just a general thing. You probably already know this because you've watched Spider-Verse, right? If you're the kind of person that's watching a video like this. A lot of the Spider people, she's not an alternate universe. She's like in the main universe. But a lot of the Spider people, they have like extra powers, right? So one of her powers, she can, fire like Venom Blast at people, right? Kind of spider related, some spiders are poisonous.
And I do have to admit, her inclusion on this list of spider people is kind of a farce because she's completely unrelated to Peter Parker at all.
Yeah. And there have been a lot of Spider Women. This is specifically Jessica Drew.
Yeah. The
the Hydra double agent kind of character. She's fun. She's cool in the comics. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I think that she's not really a Spider-Man derivative mechanically. But she kind of one of her signature things that she has these Venom Blasts, and she does that. It's not particularly inspired. But I like it. I think does this version, does she have the gliding with
she wears glide wings.
Yeah.
Like Spider. That's another thing. Spider-Man also has glide wings a lot. A lot of versions of Spider-Man also just kind of forget that most of his suits have glide wings. But yeah, she does have glide wings.
Yeah. That would be kind of cool if there was maybe something that involved that. But I think, again, look, the card can't be super long.
Yeah, the thing I will say that's kind of funny about Spider-Woman is she's the unfortunate reason why Miles Morales is in D.
Yeah.
Because Spider-Woman came out first, and she also has bioelectric projection. So they gave her bioelectric projection, and then didn't give Spider-Man, Miles Morales, anything to do with his invisibility. They just gave him nothing. Um,
Yeah, they basically gave him like spider sense but wrong. So yeah, I like it. I would say maybe A. Like if I just saw this ability, I wouldn't say, oh, that's Spider Woman. But when I see Spider Woman, I see that ability. I'm like, that makes sense.
yeah, I would agree. And now you can move on to this character, Spider-Man 2099. Used to be on my short list for characters I really like, but no one knows who they are. He is no longer on that list because people know who he is because he was in the second Spider-Verse film. Other characters on that list, if you're curious, are people like Ezekiel Sims, who is still on that list despite being the main villain of the Madam Web movie because no one saw that movie. And I think the people who did probably still wouldn't know who Ezekiel Sims is. In Morbius, who despite having an entire movie made about him, people still don't know anything about him besides that there was a movie made about him and that's the only thing they know. And the character in that movie is barely even Morbius. But anyway, back to Spider-Man 2099. He is a 4-cost, 9-power, when moved to a location for the first time, which is really weirdly worded, but just means when he is moved to a different location for the first time. Not each location, it's just when he's moved the first time. He destroys a random enemy card there. Now, based on what I've seen, because I have not actually seen the second Spider-Verse movie still, but it seems they have captured a core component of Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hare, and that he's really aggressive.
Yeah, he's kind of a mean dude. And he's still a hero, or at least he has some heroic qualities to him, kind of depending on
as a hero. He's what passes as a hero
stories and
in the far off world of 2099 when mega corporations rule everything and randomly blowing up corporate buildings is seen as a mildly heroic act.
Yeah, he's got some problems, but I would say that, like you said, right. This feels like Miguel. And I like that about this card. I like that he moves. And maybe the order is a little bit weird, but they've got to make some kind of mechanic out of it. So I think that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I'm down to give this a Sublime. I think that this works pretty darn well.
I would agree with Sublime. Now,
and he's 9 power. Think about that.
Yeah, like 20.
Consider that. Yeah, consider that.
Consider the following.
Yeah. Meditate on that.
It's your turn, by the way.
All right. Yeah. Well, next up we've got Silk. Silk, hilarious character. We'll get that in a second. Silk is a 2-cost, 5 power. After any card is played here, move this to another location. So, like I said, Silk, hilarious character. And now, I did my own research on Silk because when Silk came out, I was like, who is this? And I looked it up, and wow. Please look. If you don't know who Silk is, please look it up.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Funnily enough, funny that I brought up Ezekiel Sims.
Yeah. So, look, I mean, Silk was like she has the same powers as Peter Parker. Well,
that's
more or
actually
less,
that
right?
true, because she actually has organic webbing.
Yeah, but
she shoots out of her
Silk
fingertips.
has.
She was bit by the same spider somehow.
Yeah,
you figure it
and
out.
she was in a lab somewhere, right?
Yeah, Ezekiel.
Being
Ezekiel
experimented on.
Ezekiel Sims specifically kept her separate because. Okay, so now I can kind of explain Ezekiel. So Ezekiel Sims is a fake spider totem. Marvel has this thing called totems are people with animal powers. And Ezekiel Sims is a fake spider totem, but he knows like a lot about totem lore and like a bunch of other stuff. And he was like, I think if Silk and Peter Parker like came into contact, that would be bad. So he kept her like in a lab so that wouldn't happen. And then later,
she got out, and they did meet up, and it maybe was a little bad because like they were. I think like at this point, like Peter Parker was single conveniently.
Yeah, they have a weird attraction to each other because they were bit by the same spider. Specifically, the reason why Ezekiel Sims didn't want them to come in contact is there's this guy called Morlun and his family that they hunt, eat totems, and Morlun eats spider totems, and he was afraid that if they were in contact, it would be too much of a draw to Morlun. Where Morlun's actually the person who is the main villain of the original Into the Spider-Verse comics, because he was just hunting other versions of Peter Parker, and all the versions of Peter Parker had to work together to stop Morlun the second time, because Morlun had already come once. That's a whole other issue that involves Spider-Man dying and then gaining spider powers and then fighting a discarded husk of himself with spiders, and it was a whole ass thing that we don't have time to get into.
Yeah, but ultimately, right, Silk is a variation on Spider-Man, but still from the same, 636, 616 reality that we know and love from the comics. So, variation on a theme, right? That's sort of the idea of Silk as a character, and it's the idea of Silk as a card. Silk moves to new locations. Now, Silk doesn't pull cards to other locations, but Silk does the web slinging. And as Andrew said, Silk has the ability to do that, like, organically. It's not like the web slinger, like the web shooter, like, gadgets. Like, she can just do that. Now what I will say, the thing that kind of I don't like about this card is that she moves whenever someone shows up at her location. Now, you could say spider sense, which fair. What's a little bizarre about it is that, like, I would like that if she didn't get destroyed by something that showed up there. So, like, for example, if you play, say like Silk is 10 power, you play Shang-Chi at that location. Shang-Chi destroys her, and then her ability goes off. Now, if she left the location and then the ability went off and it didn't affect her, that's peak. But it doesn't work like that.
I would say that makes her too complicated and niche. I actually like that she has that ability for two specific reasons. One, she's way faster than Spider-Man, and unlike Miles Morales, her spider sense is way better than Spider-Man's. Like, she has a way stronger spider sense than Spider-Man does. Like, she can dodge things that Spider-Man can't because she's just faster and has a better spider sense. So I like that she very quickly reacts to anything showing up where she is by just moving somewhere else.
Yeah, that's cool. I just think that, like, it's represented, but I feel like it's not represented well enough. I get what you're saying about it being, like, more complicated and niche. But, like, I don't know, Rhino creates a rocket at your location. Like, all bets are off with abilities that are niche, okay? Just because the card would be bad for the game doesn't mean that doesn't mean that it gets a good or a bad grade in the tier list, right? So I feel like there's a bit of a bit of missed opportunity there. I don't think it's bad. I think it's really good. I just don't think it goes to Sublime for me.
And I would have to disagree on the grounds that, yes, well, the card being good or bad for the game should not affect its rating, as known by the fact that Kang is really high rated on this. If your way the card could be better would be doing things that they would never do in Marvel Snap, I don't believe that is a detriment to the card.
I don't think it's crazy to say that they could do that. To say that, like, if an effect, like basically that she moves immediately, like, that's how Nebula works, right? Nebula detects, and it didn't always work this way, right? Nebula used to wait until the end of a turn to detect whether a card was placed where she is, and they changed it to be that as soon as the turn begins. Not
that it's an effect that they would be incapable of coding in, but that would be an effect that they'd never put into the game. Because
why not? That's kind of
because that effect is so niche as to pretty much never be useful. Because what would want a card like that? Because the reason why Silk does the way she does the things she does, is because she's really good in move decks because she moves a lot. A card that, unless they just made her a completely different card that dodged negative effects charging cards at her location, like, she'd have to just be like a 5 cost with 10 power or something to even be mildly useful. Like, that's an effect.
But that's what I'm saying, though, right? That's why Kang is in Sublime. Kang's bad. There's no situation in which Kang's good, right? But he makes perfect sense. This card's good, doesn't make perfect sense. Just because they wouldn't do it, like, they can do it, and they're not. So I mean, I get what you're saying. They wouldn't do that, but they shouldn't have made Kang, right? Like they had no reason to do that. Kang's bad game design, but from a tier list perspective, Kang's pretty awesome. I like Silk a lot, but to me, this card could be different. It shouldn't be, from a design perspective. But I think that this is one of those situations where, for me, like I think that the fact that this is a flavor tier list puts it in A for me.
I can agree with A.
All right, yeah. Let us know in the comments what you think about the Silk discussion. So I'm curious. I would love to get a third party in here. Andrew and I, full disclosure, and we'd love to hear if anyone's excited for this. If anyone watched these videos, it was the same, right? But we've been thinking about branching out, maybe doing some other stuff, like maybe getting some other people involved. Not people people we know, but like maybe doing like some like kind of game show kind of things, maybe some in-depth stuff. But I would love to get a third opinion on the Silk dialogue, and that third opinion could be yours down in the comments. So let us know what you think about Silk. But up next we've got Aranya.
So Aranya is she 2 costs now? Oh god, I have no idea what this is.
1 cost, 2 power.
Okay. Activate, move the next card you play to the right, or is the last card?
Yep. Give after you play your next card, give it +1 power and move it to the right.
Man, this is kind of awkward because honestly, I don't remember. I forgot everything I used to know about this character.
Yeah, I don't really know who Aranya is. So I'd be comfortable looking this one up and returning to it next time.
Thankfully,
just as a Spider-Man character, it makes sense. So I never was like, who is this?
Yeah, she does fit into the Spider-Man character thing. Unlike our next card.
Yeah, Symbiote Spider-Man. So Symbiote Spider-Man, 4 cost, 7 power. Activate, merge your lowest cost card here with this. Copy its text like it just revealed. So here's the thing that's kind of weird to me about this card. All right. So look, this is the Venom symbiote bonded with Spider-Man. As some people, may call it Black Spider-Man.
Black suit Spider-Man. It's not just
Black suit Spider-Man.
Black Spider-Man's Miles Morales.
I mean, look, we didn't say African American Spider-Man. He's a Spider-Man whose current color is black, right? Black suit Spider-Man. So here's the thing about that, right? Venom as a symbiote needs a host, right? Or the Venom symbiote, because I guess Venom is kind of like the symbiote with a host, right? But the Venom symbiote needs a host. In this card, it's depicted as where Peter Parker is the host. Peter Parker is Spider-Man, therefore the black suit Spider-Man, right? So they're like a joint entity together. But what this card does is it plays on that interesting aspect. Look, it's a symbiote. You can bond to people, right? So it merges with other cards. Here's the thing that's kind of weird about that. The symbiote does not merge with multiple people at the same time. Not like in this way, right? Like it can bond with multiple different people, like one at a time. It can even have little bits of it split off, like say Carnage, right? But what it doesn't do is say, okay, I'm currently bonded with Peter Parker, but I'm also bonded with, say, like Galactus. As you'll see in game often. Too often.
The Fallen One. Or any number of cards that make you go, boy, I really wish they hadn't put the symbiote Spider-Man.
Yeah. But that's sort of the fundamental thing about this that I don't understand, is why is the symbiote bonding to multiple people?
I have an even more intrinsic problem with it, actually. And it's this. This isn't the Venom symbiote. This is specifically symbiote suit Spider-Man. Why does symbiote suit Spider-Man do this? Because, I mean, I'll admit,
I haven't read that many of the comics when Spider-Man had the symbiote suit in the beginning there, but I don't remember him merging with anyone and copying their on-reveal abilities.
I would love to see that comic book panel. Thought bubble. Oh no, he's merged with them and copying his unreveal abilities.
Yeah, so I don't remember that happening. Because, like, if this was, like... Because they could have made this card, they could have just made it, like, Venom Symbiote, and have it just been, like, not, like, Venom, but just be, like, the goo. And it would actually make...
Yeah.
Really, it makes sense. It merges with people and makes them stronger, and sure, it can do their on-reveal, because at that point it'd just be, like, Agony or Hulkbuster, so to give it a unique flair, it can make them do stuff better, which is actually true. The Venom Symbiote does make any natural abilities you have better.
Right. Because the Venom symbiote kind of enhances who you like see yourself as, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I would say as far as how that translates to the tier list, right? This feels like a D for me. It's
Honestly,
not
it feels like an
super
F
well
to me.
executed. Because I think that like the Spider-Man part of it's really holding it back, right? Like iconic character, but like just like wrong vehicle, like almost like a mistranslation, like a misinterpretation of the text, where like somebody said, "Oh yeah, it's symbiote suit," and like Andrew said, this is the symbiote suit Spider-Man, specifically. It's weird. Like it just doesn't need to be this, right? It's like they said, oh, somebody said, oh, this isn't quite right, and they said, oh yeah, we'll circle back to that, and they forgot to like circle back to it, and they just sent it to like sent it to be released without finishing the quality assurance like edits. So yeah, but I don't know if I hate this one. I mean, well, okay, I don't know if I hate all the cards in F anyway, but like, I think that there's something to be argued about it.
The thing is, there's something to be argued about it, but our argument is, if this was a different character, it would be a good design.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Because this is a good design, but it's a really bad design for a symbiote Spider-Man. And, like, Spider-Man's the bigger text on the card. This is Spider-Man symbiote. Like this would be listed in the monster manual as Spider-Man, symbiote.
Right. No, that makes sense. I get where you're coming from. For that reason, I do think F is a good home for it. It's disappointing, certainly. Because like literally all they had to do like is just make it called like symbiote. And then it would work. But I mean, like, and who knows? Like, maybe they'd be like, "Oh, it's a four cost, 0 power, but like, activate, merge with an on reveal, give it +7 power, and activates on reveal." Then it would be really good. But
it's not that. It's Spider-Man. Also,
right, what do we got next?
The weird thing of the fact that symbiote Spider-Man stays on top, so the card becomes symbiote. Like he just eats them, I guess.
Yeah.
Weird.
Which again, if it was the symbiote, like sure, right? Because the symbiote kind of covers someone like a second skin, but not symbiote Spider.
Just weird because the other merge cards don't. He's the only merge card that does that.
Yeah.
Which
is an interesting thing, because like again, like you would think the symbiotes would do something like that, but oh well.
Oh well, indeed. We can move to Madam Web, who is a 2-cost, 1 power, ongoing. You can move your cards here. You can move 1 card here, away from here, a turn. I'm actually curious how much you know about Madam Web.
I mean, I know that she has a connection to other spider people, but I don't know like why. Because I like Spider-Man a lot, but I'm not super tuned into like a lot of the spider totem stuff. I feel like she might have something to do with that. But yeah, go ahead, lay it on me.
So she's actually interesting because she's the only person we have covered in this Spider-Man thing, and one of the few Spider-Man related characters who is a mutant.
That's fascinating.
She is
That's
a
fascinating.
clairvoyant and precognitive mutant. That's her ability. She can predict. She can see things from. She can like. She can see things that she's not like physically there for, and she can predict the future. Also, her powers are transferable. I don't know why they're transferable, but because she got killed by Craven the Hunter's daughter and his wife. Before she died, she gave her powers of cognition and also transferred her blindness to Julia Carpenter, who became the next Madam Web. That's the main character of the movie Madam Web, if you've heard of that movie or if you're one of the 3 people who saw it. She's also the grandmother of the 4th Spider-Woman, Charlotte Witter. But she is connected to, yes, there's this thing in the Spider-Man mythos called the Web of Life and Destiny. And it's like this gigantic web that connects all the spider people, all the spider totems across all the dimensions. It's in Marvel Snap, actually, as the Great Web, which pulls people to it every turn. That's the Web of Life and Destiny. It's like the Great Web's a location that exists outside space and time that interacts with the Web of Life and Destiny. So she's a clairvoyant, and she knows the future, and she helps Spider-Man, and she has more information about the Web of Life and Destiny, and she's, all that good stuff. Now, none of that really has anything to do with letting you move a card once per turn.
Yeah, I mean, it ties into the move theme of the Spider-Man, or at least some of the Spider-Man cards, right? But like this specific effect doesn't really seem like it captures that.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's like if Madam Web was like, maybe you could say like, oh, it's Madam Web like giving a spider totem like guidance, right? Like, Madam Web saying like, oh, I can see on the Web of Life and Destiny you're supposed to be here, right? Like kind of like the canon events, in the Spider-Verse movies, right? Where they know that people are supposed to be experiencing a canon event. But I am curious, like, why this was specifically what they chose. Like, from a mechanical perspective, right? Like, sure, Spider-Man cards like moving, she moves cards, bada bing, bada boom, it doesn't feel great.
She's running into the same problem that I can Okai and the other Nakia fall into, where it's like they have synergy, they support the clan they're part of, but what they do doesn't really super match them.
Yeah. I don't think it's terrible. But it's kind of mid. I don't know. I mean, I would be inclined to put it in C because I can justify it. I don't know. It might be D though, because the justification's a little weak.
Yeah, I mean, I like Madam Web. Really interesting character. She's blind. She has I forget the name of the condition, but like that chair she's in is a life support chair because she's on life support because she's elderly and has like a degenerative condition. But yeah, unfortunately, I just feel like this is a really good card for spiders, but I don't think it's a great adaptation of Madam. Now this one is weird. My favorite spider suit, actually.
All right. Yeah, we are talking about the Scarlet Spider. And Scarlet Spider, 4 cost, 5 power, activate, add an exact clone of this to another location. Which is a great keyword. Because Scarlet Spider has something to do with clones. I can't remember exactly though. And Andrew is just itching to tell us all more about it. So take it away.
So, spoilers for the Clone Saga, which no one's going to read the Clone Saga, so no one cares. And also, if you're like, I'm going to read the Clone Saga, bit of advice for you. Don't. It's really bad. Mainly because, backstory on that for a bit. So, in the 90s, Marvel did a bunch of stupid shit and like bought a bunch of companies they shouldn't have bought, and they almost went bankrupt. So because of that, the finance department had the most say at the company because they were trying to not go bankrupt. So they started this storyline because there's a long time ago, a character named the Jackal made a clone of Spider-Man, and Spider-Man fought him. And, you know, they were like, what if Jackal and that clone came back? Because the clone would, like, seemingly die at the end. Like, what if they didn't? So they started this thing called the Clone Saga, where Jackal came back, and he was making more clones, and Ben Reilly showed up, who's a clone of Peter Parker, and is the face behind the mask of Scarlet Spider. And the marketing department went, this is doing really well. Continue. And they're like, well, we don't really have, like, much story left. And they're like, make up more then. So they did. And then, as normally happens when people have to continue a story they don't have any story for, it got really bad because they did not plan for it to last this long. That's the story of the Clone Saga, which is also the story of Ben Reilly, aka Scarlet Spider. He's a clone of Spider-Man. Now, the only thing I find weird about Scarlet Spider is that Scarlet Spider makes a clone of itself, and that's not really a thing. Like, Scarlet Spider doesn't clone himself, he just is a clone.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because when you think about other cards that make copies of themselves, they have much more straightforward explanations for why that is happening. This one references the cloning thing, but kind of gets it wrong. Kind of, honestly, kind of reminds me of the conversation we were just having about Symbiote Spider-Man, right? Where it's sort of like, yeah, I guess they got it like half right, but I don't know if they get like partial credit for getting it half right in this way. You know,
it's weird because it's like they get he's from the Clone Saga, classic Clone Saga, clone. But it's like, this isn't really what he does, you know? Like, he doesn't clone himself. He is a clone. Which, again, it's weird, because, like, for instance, Brood, it doesn't clone anything. But, like, Brood is, like, they're the Brood. That word literally, like, definitionally means there's a lot of them. Their species is just named after that. And, like, Mr. Sinister. Batman clones himself way too often. That's like the main thing he does, is clone himself and other people. So it makes sense. He clones himself. But it's like, Scarlet Spider doesn't clone himself. He just is a clone.
Right.
And like, I don't know, maybe if they had him summon like one of the other, like, I don't know if like if you used him and he summoned like Kane, and Kane just happened to be given like the same text as, like, he just had the same power as Scarlet Spider, because like Kane is another clone of Spider-Man. That would make sense. It's like, oh, he calls in one of the other clones, like they're the same. But it's like, no, he specifically summons a Scarlet Spider clone. So
yeah, I'm not in love with this. Personally, because it's so one-dimensional and it's wrong, I think I'm saying F.
Yeah, this is funny because I've never actually thought about this card, because I think I knew somewhere deep in my heart of heart this would be what would happen if I had thought about it.
Yeah, you were trying to spare yourself the nightmare of Scarlet Spider being an F, but sadly, this is the reality that we're in.
At least we get a really...
I'm in the wrong multiverse world.
Yeah, I'm in the wrong multiverse. New, probably already exists actually. Snap, title. Funny thing for Marvel Snap titles. There's a Marvel Snap title that's I have not found a title I like yet, and I used that for the first like 6 months of the game because I had not found a title I liked yet. Since then, I've been using the whole 24 ounces because I don't know what it means, but it's very funny to me. And now every time I get a title, I'm like, I look at it, read it, and go, that's not very funny. That's my reaction to pretty much every title I've ever received in the game, besides, the whole 24 ounces.
That one you received and you said, hey, that's pretty funny.
It got me to chuckle somewhat, so it became my favorite title and the one I use in all my decks. But anyway, we can move on to Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben is a 1-cost, 2-power, when destroyed, summon Spider-Man here, or create Spider-Man, because if it was summoned, you have to pull from your deck. But he just makes Spider-Man. This card is hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty funny idea, right? Like that they said like, hey, Uncle Ben dies, Spider-Man comes into be because he finally realizes that great power, great power begets great responsibility, right? And yes, I know how the actual code goes. Grammatically, it didn't work with how I set up that sentence. Don't put that in the comments. You've been warned. But yeah, I like this card a lot. It's kind of here's the only thing I don't like about it is that like because of the way that Marvel Snap works, you're kind of incentivized to send Uncle Ben to his death. Now, taking it another meta layer up, what if that's the canon event, right? This is Miguel forcing Uncle Ben to die so that the canon event can come true. Interesting thought.
And a lot of the time you end up in a weird, like, grandfather paradox where, like, Carnage or Venom is the one killing Uncle Ben. So Spider-Man exists, but you're like, well, actually, they're both dependent on Spider-Man already existing, so, like, they're the it's not a grandfather paradox. It's
a circle. It's a circular relationship.
Yeah, relationship paradox.
Temporally circular relationship.
Jetpack.
But it's not a paradox.
Origin paradox.
Oh, sure.
Well, it is a paradox because if something existing causes it to exist, it's a paradox because there's no beginning point. There is no way to start the loop.
But here's the thing. It's depending on your conceptualization of time may not be a paradox. So fun fact about me, I was a philosophy major in college. I took in a couple classes that are relevant to this. One of them is metaphysics. In the class, we talked about different philosophical conceptualizations of time. One of them is static time. And in static time, some philosophers postulate, theorize, right, whatever you want to call it, because this stuff is like super wonky and out there. Like that you could have something that has no origin point. Because the basic idea behind static time is that like everything that like, I mean, it's not even accurate to say everything that has happened is happening and will happen because like everything exists already, right? It's just that like humans perceive like things moving in this like linear path along, I guess, like, I don't know how you want to visually conceptualize it, like the surface of time or whatever, right? But like, just because we're experiencing these infinitesimal moments doesn't mean that that's how time is. And so like, while it may be confusing to think like, oh, this thing has no origin, it may not actually be paradoxical if you believe that everything already exists. That there's just like a circle built into, these things that are normally like lines. Fascinating.
I don't know if I would agree with that because yes, well, if everything exists, it already exists. That still does not change the fact that an object was not invented by anything. Because the paradox is not time related, so it doesn't actually really rely on the metaphysics of time. It's the fact that no one created the thing. Something just because it's not even really the time travel is not really the problem with the no origin paradox. It's that an object or a concept just started existing and nothing created it. Because if you can only do something by it already existing, then it has no origin point. It's not even really time. It's just that something just randomly somehow started existing outside of being made by anything. It's like the problem of where did God come from?
Maybe. I mean, again, like there are answers to these sorts of things. But like, I guess what I'm saying is like, if Uncle Ben's dying creates Spider-Man, Spider-Man existing creates Carnage, and Carnage kills Uncle Ben, that's not necessarily paradoxical. Because it's just like a circular relationship between those events. So if how you characterize the no origin paradox is a little bit different, like, yeah, I mean, sure. But as far as those events being circularly related, that can happen.
If you want to
anyway, so that's Maxwell's philosophy corner.
Check out the comic book series Flashpoint, where the Flash realizes his mother was killed by a Reverse Flash because Reverse Flash hated Flash. And then Flash goes back in time and saves his mom from dying. and then the fabric of reality falls apart and everyone just changes to be a different person.
Yeah, astonishing comic book, and a great actually animated movie.
They did perfectly capture how Thomas Wayne Batman is kind of insane. He's literally just the Punisher.
Yeah. But look, when it comes to Uncle Ben, I would say Sublime.
Yeah.
You know, like I guess maybe they could have like activate destroy this card, you know, but like I feel like that like Uncle Ben gets killed by somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you're doing it is just sort of a foible of the game most of the time, because you don't have to be the one doing it. But
when are we gonna get unnamed mugger who all he does is destroy your opponent's Uncle Ben? Or destroys your Uncle Ben?
Yeah. All right, I think we got one more, right?
We have Ghost Spider.
Yes, Ghost Spider. Who, you know, you might know as Spider Gwen. But yes.
Or, funnily enough, is actually one of the mini Spider Women.
Yeah. But she's a 1-cost, 2 power. On reveal, actually, that might be out of date. I think she's 1-cost, 3 power now. But on reveal, the last card you played moves here. So another variation in the theme of Spider-Man, right? This is like in a world where Peter Parker dies, Gwen Stacy becomes, Spider-Woman, or Ghost Spider, or whatever. It depends. Yes, I know. It doesn't matter.
The reason why she is called Ghost Spider is actually a very specific reason for this. When she showed up in 616, the mainline universe, she first showed up. Miles Morales saw her as Gwen Stacy, and he was like, it was like seeing a ghost, because Gwen Stacy is Miles Morales is from the Ultimate Universe. Gwen Stacy is dead in both the mainline and Ultimate Universe. So she was like a ghost because she's this person who's dead. And that's why she's called Ghost Spider in the mainline universe. Where she spends a lot of time, actually, because she's going to Empire University on a interdimensional student grant. Because the Marvel Universe, interdimensional travel is so common that this normal university has scholarships specifically for people from alternate dimensions.
Yeah, I mean, crazy. Like you would think that building international bridges is enough, right? But the Marvel Universe, they're doing things even crazier style. But look, Ghost Spider, she's got a variation of a theme on Spider-Man's abilities because she's kind of a variant of Spider-Man. I like it. She does the pulling cards part of Spider-Man. She does it for ally cards instead of, enemy cards, which is a little bit different. Not really a great reason for that distinction, but also like there's not a huge reason why Spider-Man has to pull enemy cards, to be honest. So I think it's good. I mean, like the thing about it is that like she doesn't super have abilities that Spider-Man doesn't. So I'm not like but what about this iconic Ghost Spider ability? I'm like, okay, yeah, that's kind of just a little different. So I'm fine with it.
My only feedback is, where's her drumming?
Right. But that's more of like, just like a Gwen Stacy thing, right? So I'd be willing to say Sublime. I mean, this doesn't have to be complicated,
Yeah, well, she's actually weird now because now she's bonded with a Venom symbiote, but like a good Venom symbiote that's not evil.
Yeah, shows up in some of her variants. Kind of cool.
Because Cindy Moon from a different Earth depowered her, and then she bonded with this Venom symbiote. Except the Venom symbiote from her universe is like completely different because it doesn't feed off of like feelings and adrenaline. It just like is an actual symbiote, like symbiotic relationship, so she has to eat kale chips.
Which, I mean, what's worse, like being evil or having to eat kale chips? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, give us your take. But yeah, no, I would say this is a really good adaptation of Spider Ghost Spider.
Yeah.
Spider-Gwen's a very weird name because like that no one has ever called her that.
Right.
Like that's not her name in either dimension, but they called her that because they have too many characters named Spider-Woman, so they called the book Spider-Gwen because they're like people know who Gwen is, Gwen Stacy is, and it's like Gwen Stacy, but like Spider. But yeah, I would say probably Sublime. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sublime is good.
Okay, yeah, the Spider people ate well. They got 4 good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the things it's like they created a game with locations, as like a mechanic, and they said, hey, Spider-Man, he's swinging between buildings and stuff, and they worked on that. They made it pop.
We didn't even have to pop locations because I agree with you about a Great Web, which brings people there, and then we also have Spider Island, which moves things away, and New York, which lets you move people there, which is like mildly Spider-Man, but also just like generally comics related because
generally
Marvel in New York. Yeah. And the things don't tend to end as much in New York because New York. Fun fact: a lot of people don't realize this. New York still exists in the DC universe. There's just also 2 other giant metropolitan areas near New York. Because there's Metropolis in Delaware and Gotham City in New York are also giant, but Gotham City in New Jersey. But like New York still exists, and that's really weird. Honestly.
Yeah, but hey, I mean, that's one of the interesting things about Marvel is they just said, "Nah, we're gonna choose the real cities," but Eastern Europe's gonna look very different. So. All right, well, that concludes our Marvel Snap flavor tier list for today. Let us know what you think about how we rated your favorite characters down in the comments, and stay tuned for next time because we're gonna keep rating these cards. So it's been Rarefied Air. We'll see you next time.